we've talked about this in the past. One of the first things we talked about when Mondays with Vish started was how it amazed you as a 20-year-old student, not in the journalism game, how these draft experts shape people's perceptions of players. So when, New York passed on Dwayne Haskins, the media conditioned the Giants fans to just lose their mind, even though they didn't really know Dwayne Haskins or Daniel Jones.
Right.
And the media didn't really either. So
if you remember, 2 days after the draft, there was reports that if Daniel Snyder never pushed Jay Gruden and them to take Dwayne Haskins at number 14, then there was a chance he might have slid out of the first round.
Right. So it seems like, look, the media has been on Lawrence and Fields forever. I mean, since they were in high school, they're celebrities. There's these rivals, scout. Everyone knows about him. Mac Jones has been a backup. He was a 4-star recruit. Draft media wasn't thinking about him last year. He was on their radar. Pardon?
They agreed on Lance last year. And so like guys, Mac Jones in particular comes out of nowhere. Same with Zach Wilson. But Zach Wilson is a 3-year starter. Mac Jones isn't. And I think a lot of draft media guys are more down on him than the league is. Is that how you see it? The way I see it is, look, again, who do I want the pick to be? I want the pick to be Justin Fields. This has been a really Max Jones-centric show because he's so polarizing. But yes. I want the pick to be Justin Fields. But what I don't want to hear is people saying, oh, you don't trade up. You don't trade up to 3 to get a guy you could have gotten at 12. How do you know Mac Jones was going to be there at 12? How do you know? Just because 15 mock drafts told you that Mac Jones is going to be there at 12, and that's where I think the media creates perception of what a player actually is, and the value chart is actually so different from the league, and that's why when a guy like Bruce Irvin goes from being a 2nd or 3rd round prospect, that's the groupthink consensus with the media, and then 1 week before the draft, everybody's like, oh, scrambling their mock drafts, and all of a sudden you just see Bruce Irvin's name magically high in the top 20, and Seattle takes him at 15. You see it with DJ Hayden. Jimmy Ward was another guy that people said was going to be a top 35 pick in the draft when the Niners took him at 30, but the league all thought he was a 2nd or 3rd round pick. So there's the media. So there's a massive difference in what the media creates as the perception for a player's value compared to their actual value. And that's where Adam Schefter said in his podcast, if you remember, he said an executive told him that the league views Mac Jones differently from how the fans and media seem to perceive him. And you look at Mike Tannenbaum, who said 1.5 months ago that the ceiling for Mac Jones is that Carolina at 8. He was not going to drop past. Yep. Yeah, he won't go past 8. And when you see those things, that's where I say, don't tell me that you could get Mac Jones at 12 because you actually don't know. You're guessing based on what the media said. And honest to God, like Mac Jones, the media could be right. Mac Jones at 3 could be a mega reach. It could be the worst pick in the world. But you know what? There's probably a reason the Niners felt they needed to trade to 3 to get to Mac Jones because the league probably views him as a top 5 pick, top 6 pick. That's why.
If they viewed 2 as a top 5 pick, then they would view Mac Jones as a top 5 pick.
Right. I mean, this time last year, mock drafts told you that Justin Herbert was going to fall into the 20s. Jordan Love might be a better prospect than Justin Herbert, and
True.
Jordan Love might be a top 15 pick in the draft.
True. They also told you that Tua was the next Steve Young.
People thought Reuben Foster. There was no way Reuben Foster drops out of the top 15.
Patrick Willis. He's Patrick Willis. That's what I heard at the time. So the media is wrong a lot, and they lock in on people early on in their college careers and don't deviate very much. They were all in on Dwayne Haskins. They were totally freaking shocked when his career fell apart. Totally freaking shocked when Daniel Jones rose up the boards. Now, Daniel Jones isn't necessarily a franchise quarterback, but that's a good example of the media
the point
being out of touch.
Right. The point isn't to say someone's right, someone's wrong. The point is to say there's a clear difference in the perception of value.
Yes, absolutely. So when these media guys tell you, man, that was a reach, you don't have to do this for Mac Jones, just remember, they don't freaking know. It seems like in the league, they like Mac Jones more than the media guys. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the league's track record is any better than your favorite draft analyst. It's just the reality of the situation.
Right. And the NFL, like the NFL isn't something that's like not opposed to groupthink. Like tomorrow, if Kyle Shanahan said that, let's pick someone random from this draft. Let's say he said Davis Mills is a first-round pick. I think a lot of people in the NFL would reconsider, and then the hot rumor would be Davis Mills is being looked at by a lot of teams as a first-round pick. So I think they're not opposed to groupthink either, but I just think that their entire system, I think, of looking into players, unfortunately, we don't get insight into that. I think there is a difference in how the executives, the coaches, and all, in what they're looking for and how they look at players than the best media draft scouts, who all do a great job. It's just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah, NFL groupthink led to Mitchell Trubisky being higher on just about every team's boards than these two great quarterbacks. So there is, I understand why fans are skeptical of NFL groupthink, and maybe just the fact that the league is higher on Mac Jones than everyone else doesn't mean that Mac Jones is going to be good. Maybe they're wrong about him. And you compare his resume to Mitchell Trubisky's resume, it's equally thin.
And the other thing I will say is that the other problem for the media people is that draft is year round. So like the college football superstars, like they have to talk about them, and they have to kind of create an idea and a buzz of where this guy's supposed to go and all of that. The NFL teams really, the big decision makers dig deep into the process after the NFL season. So they don't have the preconceived notions of what's in college football. They just sit and evaluate players. So they don't need to necessarily look at a guy from Northern Illinois, like say Jimmy Ward, and say, oh, Jimmy Ward isn't a first round pick because he went to Northern Illinois, blah, blah, blah. They just look at Jimmy Ward for what he is,
Yeah. Real quick. Mac Jones threw 556 passes in college. Trubisky threw 572. 572. Trubisky threw 41 touchdown passes, and Mac Jones threw 56.
No, Mac Jones, I harp on Trey Lance's experience a lot. Mac Jones's experience is scary too. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not. Again, quarterbacks with just 1 year of starting, even if that 1 year looks good, it's unprecedented to have an
That's why if they do pick Mac Jones and he's the guy, I'm not surprised that they don't want to play him right away, because there's a chance that he's not ready. He could benefit from the reps, but this is a team that wants to win now, and he could really struggle, as you already said, for the reasons we laid out.